Hello! Today I wanted to show you some swatches of my new Salt New York palette. I've used it one time, so I want to give you a little bit of my first impression thoughts. And as I continue to use this, maybe I can do an update. So I purchased this during the pre-order sale, and that was a few months ago. And this did not ship until I guess it was last week. So I just recently got it. And, I totally understand they're a small company and COVID happened. So just to be aware that if you do order from them, there might be some shipping delays, but definitely seems worth it. So I purchased this palette. The deal was that it was half off the bundle, and they had a new smaller palette. But I decided, because I've never tried anything from them before, that I wanted to go for the big palette, and it was still half off, and that I would get a variety of their shades to try. The bundle was for 6 shadows that would be half off, but I ended up adding a 7th one to my order because I really couldn't make a decision. And Kiki, the owner of Salt New York, was so helpful about adding that. It was a very easy process. They all came together, they all came safe. So I was very proud. I was really happy that that happened with the order. As you can see from this palette, it is really well constructed. It's thick. It's a really nice, thick, sturdy palette. And I think a lot of that is because there's this really nice sort of structure inside the palette to keep everything safe. And that's got a good, depth to it. So all of your items are not going to be bouncing around in there. They're going to be protected if you're traveling. This also comes with a really nice mirror size, and that's perfect. I can totally see myself, putting any single eyeshadows that I have in here, keeping everything really neat and easy when I'm traveling. So I'm going to show you the items that I got here in the palette, and that's how I have them swatched on my arm. Just to give a little bit of insight about me with swatching is that I am super pale, the palest that you really can get. Any foundation shade, I'm the lightest shade. So when I was interested in trying Salt New York, it was mainly because I saw and heard from many people that their sort of base colors, these foundation-y, sort of contour shades, their bronzers, that they were super easy to blend, and that they had really good colors. I don't have a lot of bronzers. I honestly have about 2 or 3, and that's because most bronzers end up really not being the right color for me, and so it sort of turned me off bronzing. I have 0 contour shades. I've had them in the past and then ended up decluttering them because they just are not good color shades for me. So I ended up purchasing these shades based on some videos that I saw, but I also wanted to include some swatches on myself since I didn't see that many with really fair skin doing swatches. So this is the first shade I got. That's the contour shade. Then this is the Sculpt Bronze Cream in Light. That's the bronzer shade and then your contour shade. So then these two are both considered highlight products. This is Warm Tan, which you might be asking yourself why did I get that when I'm so fair? But I did see Kiki, the owner of this brand, using this as sort of a cheek product, sort of to go over cheek products, not so much as a highlighter. And that's what I was interested in with that. I'm interested in having somewhat of a warm glow, but yet not an overpowering color, and thinking that this could be a bronzer alternative for me, just to give a little bit more life to my cheeks. And then the highlighter shade I picked for my actual skin tone is Pearl. Then I picked 3 of the blushes, and this was by far the hardest decision for me because these all looked so gorgeous. But the 2 I got initially with my bundle was Rose and Peach, and then I had to get Raspberry. After I saw swatches of it from someone else, I was I think I just absolutely need to get that shade. And then now I have a space here for another pan, and I feel I'm gonna need something else. But so this is just such a nice looking palette to me, and I'm gonna show you the swatches and then tell you how they worked after the first application that I've used them. So we're going to start here with the contour shade, and that's the first one here. And as you can see, this looks very neutral on me. I wouldn't call it cool. I've seen some people describe it as a cool tone, and I think maybe because of my skin tone, this definitely comes much more neutral. And it definitely seems like a really nice tone. This one below it is the bronzer in the light form, and this, I would say, if I'm going to use a bronzer between these two after using them, it's going to be the contour shade as sort of a light all over bronzer for me, and not so much the light color here, because this one reads much more orange on me. And as you can see from the shade below it, that's the Warm Tan highlighter. which is, you know, obviously more orange, but it definitely has like a similar undertone to that one on my skin tone. Of course, there's more iridescence in the warm tan, but as you can see, like it's much, much warmer. And that one shows up when I've used it on the first time, a little more obviously orange on me. So the contour shade for my very pale skin ends up being sort of a warming bronzing shade, and less of an actual contour shade. I would need it to be like a little bit more gray to actually like be a contour for me. Okay, so then there's the warm tan, which, I mean, that is so gorgeous. I know that they said that like if you put this on your eyes, it could crease, but that's like, for me, I have blue eyes, like the perfect eyeshadow shade. So I could see myself using this as like a really quick eyeshadow, setting it with like a little bit of powder maybe just to make sure it lasts. But that's such a beautiful shade. And I can see myself shearing that out and using that as a blush too, or like a blush topper on, you know, a really like nice nude blush. Then there's Pearl, and I actually like didn't really see anybody with swatches of this one. I know it's the lightest of the highlights, but that's a beautiful highlight shade for me. That is a heavy swatch just so you could like really see it, but it actually, like, the iridescence in this is super beautiful. It doesn't like actually, it doesn't have any glitter to it, but it really comes off as like playing on the light there. Looks so pretty. And then we have Raspberry, which I love. I think this is like my ideal lip shade as well. And then I can just use that really lightly. I mean, I had to heavy swatch these in order to get like, so you could really see it. But I think that's going to be like my favorite of all of these shades. Then we have Rose, which is, you know, a lot more muted, a beautiful shade. I've seen a couple people use it as like multi-layer blush draping kind of effect. And I could see like using that sort of all over my cheek, a little bit of Rose, just to give a little life like right to the center. And I think that would be such a pretty look. And then a little bit of that Pearl. That sounds great. When I used the blush, the only one I used so far was the Raspberry sheared out, and that was really nice, but I'd like to do a little bit more with layering over the next few weeks. And the last one is Peach. So I'm not usually someone who wears really warm toned blushes, but this one just looked so beautiful. I have not tried this on my cheeks yet, but it is a beautiful tone, and I could see that like really lightly applied. I mean, we're in summer now. Like, I think this is going to be the close to the time I'm going to be able to use that. But these are the shades that I purchased. And what I can say is I'm extremely happy with my order. Probably the only thing that I wouldn't have gotten would be the bronzer in light, because I do think that contour shade is sort of working for me as a bronzing shade, warming it up a little bit and keeping it much more neutral than the light, if you see those two next to each other. And then I'm just going to go into the light a little bit here and go down so you could see it a little bit more direct light. If you're interested in those shades and you're super pale, it's interesting because when you see contour, it almost just looks like it's like actually a shadow on my hand, compared to the bronzer shade. So that's what I would say. My advice is, if you're super, super pale, maybe just go for the contour shade. And, you know, I mean, it still looked nice with the light bronzer, but I know I'm going to use the contour shade much more if I'm trying to get a little bit more of a bronze look. That warm tan and that pearl are so pretty. All right. Have a good day.